15 months, a group of young American men did the unimaginable. Fueled by a fearless sense of patriotism, they embarked on unprecedented missions in direct support of Allied ground troops and ventured deep inside enemy territory. Their heroic actions changed the outcome of World War II.
Beaulieu Airfield was one of 11 Second World War airfields located in and around the New Forest in Hampshire. In 1910, a flying school was established close by and used in the First World War for Royal Flying Corps pilot training, but it lacked space for the larger aircraft of the Second World War, and brick and rubble was brought in from bombed areas such as Southampton for use in the runway and perimeter foundations. The size of the site, together with its close proximity to the D-Day landings in France, made it the perfect location for the type of air cover necessary for troops on the ground. Less time flying to the theatre of operations meant that squadrons like the 365th could spend more time supporting troops on the beaches. The Allies knew that whatever plans were made for Operation Overlord, they would be rendered useless without the protection of air cover. The USAAF arrived in Beaulieu on the 5th of March 1944, and it became the headquarters of the 84th Fighter Wing of the US Ninth Air Force, with the 365th Fighter Bomber Group 386 to 388 fighter bomber squadrons nicknamed the Hellhawks, who flew P-47 Thunderbolts. Built originally as a long-range high-altitude fighter to protect bombers flying deep into Germany, the Thunderbolt's robust construction lent itself to tank-busting duties. Initial response to the P-47 praised its dive speed and high-altitude performance, while criticizing its turning performance and rate of climb. The turbo supercharger in the P-47 gave the power plant its maximum power in the thin air above 30,000 feet, where the Thunderbolt remained comparatively fast and nimble relative to other aircraft. The time at Beaulieu was spent developing the fighter bomber role necessary for D-Day. P-47 pilots learnt to carry two 500-pound bombs and developed the so-called skip bombing technique for difficult targets, for example in railway tunnels. The P-47's survivability was due in part to its radial piston engine, which, unlike comparable liquid-cooled engines, had a tolerance for damage. The Thunderbolt's 8.5-inch machine guns were adequate against lightly armoured targets, although less so than cannon-armed aircraft of the day. In a ground attack role, the armour-piercing incendiary, and armour-piercing incendiary tracer ammunition proved useful in penetrating thin-skinned and lightly armoured German vehicles and their fuel tanks. Although the stay at Beaulieu was relatively short-lived, this should not in any way detract from the bravery and selflessness of the airmen that served their country. Their contribution made a significant impact at a vital stage of the war, when Allied soldiers were trying to establish a beachhead and attempting to break out from Normandy. One historian described their tenure at Beaulieu, saying they flew from the first ray in the morning to the last glimmer at night in support of their comrades. It was always part of their role as a ground support unit that as soon as space was made available, the earth-moving equipment would be transported abroad and the airfields built on the beaches if necessary to guarantee Allied troop air cover.